Gentlemen, while I have you here, and we'll get back to this at the end, but I don't know whether either one of you saw what happened yesterday. Both of you, have you heard of this company, General Electric, either one of you? Ken, you were on the board. Larry, how long did you work at General Electric in senior management?
34 years in total. 20 years in senior management.
I mean, the Journal is calling it like the end of an era. I mean, it's a lead story. It's the conglomerate is dead. It's a beacon of U.S. manufacturing is now over and split into three.
It's none of the above. If you want to address the issue, it was terrible, terrible. By the way, full disclosure, Jeff fired me from the board in 2005.
That's because of your potty mouth.
Because of my potty mouth. So I may be jaundiced in what I'm saying. I hope I'm not. I don't think I am. Jeff turned out to be a disaster as a leader, a disaster. But he had a willing accomplice or accomplices in the board of directors. They allowed him to do all these things. The biggest mistake, of course, was Alstrom. $17 billion gone. Gone.
They kind of gifted NBC to Comcast, and we, in hindsight, we thank them for that.
I told Brian Roberts all he needed was an eye patch and two pearl-handled pistols on either side, and he makes it as a pirate.
I think Squawk Box itself was worth what Comcast paid for the entire.
Well, then you're underpaid if that's the case, okay?
But I'll tell you one thing: in terms, what they're doing now seems to make perfect sense.
Absolutely.
And I do think they're going to unlock a lot of value. But this idea that conglomerates are over, I don't agree with at all. You know, if you have the right management team, there's a lot to be said for putting together disparate businesses. You have purchasing power you can exercise. You can run a Six Sigma program, for example, across the whole company. And there's a lot of companies out there doing it. My alma mater, Honeywell being one. But how about Amazon? How about Google? They all have disparate businesses. And with the right management, it can still work.
You know, Ken, the business model changed. Remember, GE Capital used to fund a lot of the, or provide the funding for a lot of the operations for all the other disparate entities, as you say. And that didn't happen in the financial crisis, didn't help. There are people, Ken, that don't blame the individual you were speaking of, but they say it goes all the way back to Jack Welch.
Where did all the cash come from to pay all the dividends? Forget about the price of the stock. The company had a model that worked. Now, granted, Jack could handle it. He built it, and he did it. I got to tell you, Joe, I wish I didn't have to say this, but in a sense, I'm glad Jack has passed on, because this would be, I think, Larry, the biggest heartbreak of his life to see what happened to this company. I had dinner last night with Paolo Fresco, who was vice chairman of GE with Jack and Larry. And he was stunned. He's stunned. He's stunned at what happened here. Do you realize, I got to tell you, when I was on the board of GE, I used to brag that I was on the board of the most valuable corporation in the world. In 2000, GE had a market value greater than any other corporation in the world.
$600 billion.
$600 billion. And talent like Bossidy and Fresco and Calhoun and McNerney and right down the list, enormous talent. Great leaders. No, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm absolutely convinced. By the way, one more shot. I read Jeff's book. If you read the book, you think he did a magnificent transformation. He sounds like Biden getting out of Afghanistan.
No, it's a real tragedy, and it is what it is. But the idea that it falls back on Welch is crazy. I know for a fact when ML took over, Jack said you ought to blow the place up. There's a lot of businesses here now that are tired.
Right.
He didn't mean to actually blow the place up, though, probably.
No, but I mean rejuvenate it.
I know, but that was the end result.
Yeah.
How's Culp doing?
I think he's doing fabulous.
I do, too.
Oh.
I think in this move, I think he's waited the right time to get the balance sheet fixed before he undertook this task. But given what the state of the company is now, I think breaking it up in three pieces is just very sensible.
Can we go back to radical hope, please?
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Look, this is a national crisis. There's nothing that's going to impact our future more than giving all of our kids hope. The wonderful thing about today versus 50 years ago, when people suffered mental illness, it was a secret. You whispered it. Thank God today we're more open about it, and we have the opportunity to reach out to these kids and assure them there's a life ahead for them. maybe a little difficult. Maybe they came from bad situations. Whatever the reasons, let's help these kids to a better life. And this is what our goal is, particularly these kids that are struggling mentally.
And get it out on the table and talk about it so we can provide some help.
That's the first step, yeah.
People don't want to talk about it, understandably, but now they're more willing to, and the more willing they are, the more help we're going to be.
It's a more fertile area to talk about now, given what we've seen in some of the Olympic athletes and so tennis all along. It is a real issue, and it's not something that you need to hide or keep under wraps.
Exactly. It's no longer a stain on a person's body or conscience. It's a disease. It's a serious disease, and it needs to be addressed like any other disease. But you can't address the cure, I should say apply the cure, unless you identify the illness.
Right.
And that's what we're all about. We want to identify these kids that are struggling, that are drowning in their own minds.
Right.
So if you want to help us, go to radicalhopefoundation.org. And be a part of us as we try to at least deal with this difficult situation. I know, Joe, you have a college freshman, and you're keeping your eye on him as closely as you can.
Senior, and the college senior, I've got my eye one on each, both on both.
Hey, by the way, a plug for age. Here are two 86-year-old men, as passionate as we've ever been from the day we went to work 65, 66 years ago, right?
Right.
Can I, all right, don't get mad at me, but,
Go ahead.
You started with the Afghanistan thing. Can you just comment on where do you think we are in terms of policy in this country? Right? I think, what is it? 70% think we're headed the wrong direction. You started it, Ken. I don't want to get political, but...
let me give you a warning.
Yeah.
This inflation is a lot worse than people think. It is not transitory. And trust me, the little people like my parents and Lowry's parents, they're going to suffer because inflation is a regressive tax. It hits the poor people hardest of all. We have serious problems in America. I don't know. Look... You know my politics, but I got to tell you right now, I don't see leadership any place in this country. Thank God for Joe Manchin, by the way. Thank God for Joe Manchin. The guy's got guts and courage, and he did what he had to do, and he'll continue to do what he has to do.
He gets covered. A lot of the people probably like they don't have his, I don't know, he's pretty safe in West Virginia, obviously. But
well, I tell you right now, I'm going to have one of the biggest fundraisers. He's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I'm going to have one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever had for him. He's special. He's precious. He's a great American.
I think, Joe, too, if you want to be hopeful, I think the Virginia election kind of indicates that America in large is sick of this kind of stuff. And I think they're going to have to be more sensible in turning this company in a direction that the majority of people, I believe, want it to go.
Okay, gentlemen.
Joe, one more plug. Joe, we need to broaden the process of diversity of thought in colleges and universities in America. That's another big issue in America. We've got to address the need for open discourse.
As long as, you're not talking, everybody needs a safe micro space from microaggression, and as long as it doesn't violate that, gentlemen, because
I agree with you 100%.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. All right, Ken Langone, thank you. Larry Bossidy, thanks. And thanks for bringing us this all to us before. I hadn't seen it anywhere else, and it's a very good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Have a nice day, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Beck.
Thanks, guys.